Hello and welcome to Amira's second day school video. So the first thing I wanted to work on was getting her to willingly put her head in the slip lead. She didn't have any problems with me putting the slip lead on her, but this makes life a lot easier. I try to teach it like a trick to put your head through the loop. So the first thing I do is I try to make it really easy. I just put a treat right on the other side of the loop so that she sticks her head through and then gets that treat. So I do this a bunch. Ideally, I would not move super fast in teaching a trick like this, but I wanted to see later, in a couple shots later, if she would stick her head through without me having to prompt her with the treat right there. And she actually did catch on pretty quick, and you will see that. So instead of putting the treat right up to the loop, I'll start holding it near me and then put the loop between us. And sometimes she'll try other behaviors like trying to give paw or trying to just get the treat out of my hand, but I will just wait her out.
Yes.
And you'll see right there she gets the idea.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. So we're looking for that. So when you start teaching this at home, do it with the treat right up next to the loop so she sticks her nose through, and then slowly work your way away from having the treat right there and have it be an action more of her putting her head through and then getting the treat versus us trying to bribe her to put her head through.
Yes. Good. Good job. Yes. Good girl.
What I'm looking for is that when I offer the loop, that she sticks her nose through. And this is just great. It makes it a lot easier to put a leash on. You know, it turns it into a trick. Then I just checked and made sure that she still understood the leash pressure that we worked on from the first time I worked with her, and she did. And that's how I could tell that I knew you had been working with her, is that she caught on super duper fast this time. And then I worked on getting her into that position next to me. And when she chooses to be in the correct spot next to me, I'll give her a treat for that. There's an example of when you might have to hold the leash pressure for a couple of seconds until it clicks in her mind. And then what I wanted to work on as well is that when I stop walking, I'd like her to stop walking at the same time. So if she does stop with me, I will give her a treat for stopping with me at my side. If she does not, and she cuts in front like that, I will guide her back into the right position. I may or may not treat her for doing that. And then we had a play break. She loves these fuzzy toys. She's so goofy. And this is just a really good moment that she offered. I did not ask her to come to my side, but she saw my hand at my side and came into the right position, so I rewarded her for that. That was all her. That was not me. So after playtime, she kept going back over to where I put the toy when I put it away, so I could tell that she still wanted to play, but we had work to do. So then I figured I could incorporate the toy into the work that we were doing. So she's gotten really good at following my hand and following leash pressure. It's called luring, when they follow a treat to their nose which is something I've been working on with her too. She's pretty decent at it. So I was trying to see if she could lure and follow that toy into the position at my side, and then eventually if she could stay on my left side, come around my left side, and then I would throw it. So you'll see she gets the idea more and more as we keep working on it. At first it was difficult for her to realize that I was asking her to come into that position. So as soon as she does, I say yes, and I throw that toy for her.
Yes. Good girl.
And then I let her have it for a little bit. I let her run around and prance with it. And what you'll see is I always trade a treat for that toy. I don't want me taking the toy to be confrontational, so I trade her every single time. I'll either throw a treat and then she drops the toy and chases the treat, or I put the treat to her nose and she drops the toy and we exchange it that way. So there's me getting her to come around on my left side. She likes to jump around either in front of me or cut across to my other side randomly. So this is just reinforcing the idea to follow the toy and to stay on my left side.
Oh, good girl.
She's also pretty decent at healing in the correct position when I have that toy in my hand, so I like to reinforce that as well.
Good job. Yeah, good. Yes. Good. Sit. Good girl.
You can definitely also reward things like sit or down, especially if they're at your side.
Good.
She got really good at following the toy into the heel position, so then I started mostly working on following around on the left side like that.
Girl.
This is not necessarily something you have to work on at home, but it just gets her more familiar with body positioning and using a toy versus having to use treats or praise or something like that, because it's good to have a varied number of things that you can use as reinforcement. And that was a great response to her hitting the end of the leash. She felt the leash pressure and then immediately fixed it and came right back to me. And that's what we're looking for. So I tried to, because she's good at following my hand, and she's pretty decent at following leash pressure, so I started using the leash plus my hand to get her back around to my side. I want those things to look the same to her so that they both mean the same thing right here.
Yes.
And what I'm doing is hoping that she stops with me. If she does stop with me, she gets treats. If she does not stop with me, I guide her back into position. And you can treat for that, for getting back into position. But sometimes I don't treat for it because she broke position in the first place.
Good. Look at you. You're so smart.
I like to add backwards movement to getting into the right position, because if I just stop and stand there, she doesn't know what I'm asking for her to do. So adding a little bit of movement makes them move, makes them start making choices, and she always makes a good choice typically. So
Good.
guiding with the leash pressure.
Yes. Good.
Back into position so she gets a treat, and then she leaves position.
Yes.
So I guide her back. And notice how she moves with me. She's not just hitting the end of the leash like the first session we had.
Yes.
She stops with me and has her eyes on me, which is amazing, so she gets a treat. She stops, but she cuts out in front, so I guide her back with the leash.
Good. Come on.
Takes a little bit of extra movement, but she gets there. She stops, but cuts out in front of me. Get her back into the right position. We both
Yes.
stop together, and so I give her a good handful of treats for that because that was a great choice.
That's what I'm looking for.
A good loose leash walk is when the dog keeps you in their peripheral vision and responds to your movement changes. So that's what I'm reinforcing here. I liked that she sat when we stopped, so I gave her 2 treats for that, even though if it's a little far from me.
Yeah, that's acceptable. Yeah. The treats are getting tinier and tinier. Yeah.
And here she stops with me. Awesome, and she sits. So I give her a good little handful of treats again, and then I end our session there. But she did super good.